Yeah, we're excited to start team practice on what's today? On Thursday, tomorrow. We'll have a sim game today for the first time with our guys, trying to do a little walkthrough before we start practice tomorrow. And we'll be getting after it. Anxious to see all the returning players start to mix together with the new players and start to formulate what we have here. So excited to just get back on the field with these guys. It's been a long, long time, and players, coaches, we're all very anxious to just get out there and start to do baseball again.
All right, thank you. Load up the questions now, and we'll start with Dave.
Hey, Mark, thanks for doing this. Hope you had a good off season or a safe off season.
Yeah, same.
Just how have you guys dealt with COVID over this area of, getting here and doing workouts and before you kind of get to the start of actual practice?
Yeah, we're following much the same guidelines that football, basketball, soccer, same guidelines that all the sports are following. Our administration, our athletic department has done a really nice job of giving us a plan to follow, whether it's a timetable, whether it's how many guys for us are in a cluster so that there's not, cross groups giving the virus if they test positive to separate guys on the team. So long story short, we followed a very detailed plan, step by step, and now we're to the point now where we're getting very close to being able to have team practices, and we're still going to follow a lot of protocols. Our locker room is still limited in terms of the use of that. There's still a lot of minute things. We'll make adjustments during scrimmages. We'll be using 2 dugouts, just little things like that along the way. But at the end of the day, we have to continue to adhere to what the athletic department is giving us. And I think they've done a really good job of being organized and communicating what they want out of us.
Okay. Colin Taylor.
Unmute, Colin. Come on now. This isn't your first rodeo.
Sorry.
There you go.
Sorry. I was doing a horrible internet connection over here. So I guess just kind of what's this summer been like for you guys? Trying to obviously communicate with your team and follow all these protocols while also trying to recruit and doing everything virtually.
Yeah, it's funny. It was still busy because recruiting was still going on virtually. You were still watching a lot of videos and a lot of live streaming of recruits and showcases, and travel baseball still seemed to be going full bore. So there was still a lot of time spent on recruiting of future players. There was a lot of time spent on recruiting the current class because we had to gauge the draft. Up until the draft, it was only a 5-round draft, obviously. So we had to gauge that and who would be back and who would return. We had to keep tabs on our current team, and we had a lot of guys play summer ball, most notably here in Lexington with the Blowfish, and so we were able to watch and keep tabs on them. So it was a matter of daily figuring out what is the fall going to look like. It was recruiting, it was keeping track of your team. There's still a lot going on, just different things going on than maybe were normal.
John Whittle.
Yeah, the 2020 recruiting rankings have been coming out over the course of the week, and I think y'all are ranked as high as 4 by Perfect Game. What are kind of your initial impressions of that group, just in general? Is there anything about the class as a whole that has stood out to you since they got to campus?
To me, it's a class that they have high aspirations. They want to be a big part of getting our program back to the top of the heap in college baseball. But they're also very driven personally in terms of they want to get to pro baseball someday. They want to play at the highest level. So it seems to be so far a group that you can really motivate because they have big goals. And that's what I think our program should be all about. Guys that have big goals for South Carolina, guys that have big goals professionally. And so far, obviously it's a small sample size so far, but so far we're seeing a group that has a lot of those characteristics.
Dave?
Mark, how many guys are on the roster coming into fall camp and in between summer when the new kids enrolled and the guys are coming back? Did you lose anybody that you weren't expecting, either a freshman or maybe a returnee?
No, we currently stand at 43 players. We will be allowed, when all is said and done, when the season starts, we will be allowed 40 rostered players. That's up from 35, and with this being a COVID year. The NCAA rule is that you can have an unlimited roster, but South Carolina has given us a Title IX number of 40. So that's where our roster stands right now. So obviously the fall and the early spring will be continuing to figure out who fits into different roles and what our team will look like. But that's where we stand as of right now. And did we lose guys that we did not expect? No, we had to have some, tough, honest, open conversations with some guys. And because of everything that's gone on with the draft, with the virus, with guys being back, et cetera. But long story short, where we are as of today is 43 players that will be working out with us this fall.
Go with Derek Scott.
Thanks, Kent. Coach, with everything being so different this fall, has it been more challenging to assimilate the new faces into the program, both in terms of college life and also, just getting them into your program, and because of, the fact that they don't have classes in the traditional way they have and so forth?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is the lack of team meetings we're able to have. By now, we're about a month into this. At this point, by now, we would have had so many team meetings up in our media room where we, just get to know each other. The time spent as a team has been very, very small so far. So to me, that's the biggest thing that we need to try to play catch up on once we start team practice, is just the fact that these guys still, I think some of them are still trying to learn each other's names because there's been so much separation in small groups. So that part we need to do a good job once we all get on the field together, just letting the old guys get to know the new guys, be role models for them, teach them how we do things. But yeah, I would say that's the biggest difference up to this point compared to what we would have done in the past, is we just have not had the ability to have close quarter team meetings where you really address the team. Those kinds of things have had to be done over Zoom or in small groups, and that's just not the same.
Go Greg Hadley.
Hey, Mark, I was just curious, given all these things that we're talking about, with the expanded roster and the lack of team meetings and all that, I mean, does that lend an outsized importance this fall in terms of, how you're going to be able to evaluate players?
Yeah, I mean, I think every fall is important for evaluation, but this one even more so maybe than ever, because we have so many returning players, but we have such a talented incoming class. So we will play more scrimmage games than we've ever played in a fall, because I want to see what it all looks like together on the field. Because batting practice is one thing, bullpens are one thing. I just want to see how these guys look in football terms. I want to see how they look with the pads on. I want to see which freshmen are ready to play at this level. I want to see which returning players have taken that next step. And then I want to see how it all gets blended together and what our best look is as we get closer to the season in the spring. So to me, yeah, we'll play more games than we've ever played in the fall for a variety of reasons, but that's a big one. And the second reason would be just because a lot of them have missed innings over the spring and the summer. So we want to try to play catch up there. So you'll see us play more games than we've played in any fall since I've been here.
Colin Taylor.
Got my unmute button on the.
Thanks, Colin.
There, yeah. I guess with this pitching staff, you guys obviously return Thomas and Brandon, two guys that obviously had draft looks. I guess what have you seen from them and then the staff as a whole as you kind of mix in some pretty good arms from that recruiting class too?
Yeah, those first two guys you mentioned, those are key guys for us. No question about it. They pitched very, very well last year, and I expect them to take another big step, another year of getting stronger with Billy Anderson, another year of being with Skylar Meade in the bullpen. The other day, Farr was 97 miles an hour on almost every pitch he threw in a sim game, in a pitcher versus hitter workout on the field. I expect Brandon Jordan to take another big step this year. So I'm very pleased with where our pitching is and what the potential of that group is. And you have to say at this point, Farr and Jordan are the guys leading the charge, but we've got a lot of guys that are going to be right there with them, fighting for big innings.
Dave?
Mark, will there be anybody who won't start fall because of injury. And I believe you had 4 guys last year, McGregor, Sweat, Lehman, and Harley, who were out for the year. Are those guys recovered?
Those guys are still working through recovery. You probably will not see any of them pitch this fall. And then as it relates to who you may not see early on in the fall games, there'll be some guys missing for a variety of reasons, none of which at this point, I'm at liberty to discuss for obvious reasons.
John?
George Khalil was the only senior, I guess, to come back. Can you kind of take us through that process with him? What kind of made him want to come back? And also with bringing in a highly regarded Jalen Vasquez and a junior college guy. How do you see that shortstop position kind of going right now?
Yeah, with George, George had 2 goals when he came to America. He wanted to play big time college baseball, and he wanted to move on to pro baseball after that. With the draft being only 5 rounds, he did not get the opportunity yet to play pro baseball. So he wanted to come back and keep playing great college baseball and work towards that dream. And I think if the draft expands again this year, I think he'll get that opportunity. But also he's going to have to continue to fight to be our shortstop. This between George and Vasquez and Robinson, and even you can throw Jack Mahoney in that mix is those are 4 very, very good defensive shortstops. And so that's a position that's going to be looked at very closely all fall and all spring to see who the best guy is. But I anticipate shortstop being a very interesting position to watch and see how that develops. As you mentioned, Vasquez is very talented. Robinson is a proven JUCO guy. But Jack Mahoney also is a guy defensively that can be an elite defender, and we'll see how his bat develops.
All right. Colin?
Yeah, Mark, kind of wanted to touch on Jack a little bit. I know he's coming in as a 2-way guy. I'm just curious what the plan is for him this fall, and where do you kind of project him maybe in the short term and in the long term?
Yeah, Jack is a guy that has an elite arm. It's special arm talent. He'll be a guy that you may see up to 95 this fall off the mound. The arm is very, very impressive when he throws it across the infield from the left side, whether he's at short or third. You may see some scrimmages where he's out there playing infield, but he doesn't throw the ball across because he may need to pitch in a game the following day. So we'll protect his arm. Most of the throws you'll see him make will probably be off the mound. You'll see him make throws occasionally as an infielder. But he is a true 2-way guy right now for us. We think he can help us a lot on the mound. We think defensively he's at a very high level. And then, it's just a matter of how quickly does the bat come along. But he's a very talented kid from Chicago. He's a 3-sport athlete. And he's one of those guys that once he just focuses on baseball, we think some really special things can happen.
All right. Greg Hadley?
Hey, Mark, you mentioned the Lexington County Blowfish, and I was just curious what you saw from those guys, especially Brennan Malone seemed to have a very strong summer.
Yeah, it was great for us. Our guys that played for them, a lot of them were scheduled to go up to the Cape Cod League and play in the best league in America because they're some of the best players in America. So I think when the Cape Cod League shut down and the Lexington Blowfish found a way to play baseball, I think it was a very natural fit. I think it was great for us because our guys got to go out and play, and it was great for them because they had some of the best players from South Carolina playing for them all summer. So I thought it was a great situation for both sides. Our guys spoke very highly of their experience there and how they were treated. So I think it was a really good experience. The guys loved playing there. They got a lot of at-bats. We had hitters and pitchers play for them and do well. So it was a very good experience, I think, for both sides. I think both sides were very happy with the relationship.
All right, Dave?
Mark, I got one that will probably lead into another question, but have you had any discussions with Ray or the NCAA about scheduling, about how you guys are going to approach that this year?
Yeah, there have been some preliminary discussions with Ray, but also we had a head coach's Zoom meeting that included Greg Sankey, our commissioner, about a week and a half ago. And basically they said it could be anything. The spectrum right now is very wide. It could be status quo where you play 56 games, or it could be you play only SEC games like football is doing, and that could be a 10-week season. It could be a 13-week season. It could be 3 games on the weekends. It could be 4 games on the weekends. Basically, everything is on the table at this point. I think a lot of it will have to do with how comfortable they feel with midweek games, or do they just want to play games on the weekend? A lot of it will have to do with protocols among the different schools and the different conferences. So long story short, we have 56 game schedule right now, but we also are open-minded enough to know that may change significantly. So wherever they tell us to play, we'll be ready. But I think Major League Baseball had 7-inning doubleheaders this year, so they may have started a precedent that that's okay to do in baseball, at the highest levels. So we'll just have to see. I think a lot of it is still to be determined. I think they're still working through the basketball schedules and getting those finalized. So once they get through football and get basketball kind of nailed down, then I think they'll start to get to work on baseball.
I was actually just going to go into that. How do you guys approach that? I mean, you wouldn't start till February anyway, I would think, but how do you get in all your regular work, not knowing that the season will start on time?
Yeah, we're going to operate under the impression that we will play 56 games and that we will need that type depth. And I feel great about our depth. So I hope we play as many games as possible with our pitching depth, with our position player depth. It's as deep a team as since I've been here. So I'm all for playing as many games as we possibly can. So we'll prepare as such.
All right, John.
Couple of things, mainly about first base. How do you feel like Wes Clark has come along from a defensive standpoint at that position, and who are some of the guys that may end up at that spot as well that you're looking at?
I would say the two guys that are in the running to play that position will be, Wes Clark, obviously, and then David Mendham, JUCO transfer, left-handed hitter, a big, strong, physical guy. Those will be the top two guys that you're looking at. Wes still needs to make improvements defensively at first base. He works really hard at it, but he's been more of a catcher most of his life, so he's still working, and there are areas he needs to get better at first base, and he has. But I still think there's more room there for growth. And then David Mendham is a guy that played third base a lot in his past. So when you move him across to first base, he looks really good over there. Good soft hands, reads the ball really well, strong, accurate arm on double plays. So those are the two guys you're probably looking at as getting the most reps there. But you can also see Joe Satterfield, a transfer that came in this fall from Elon, has played a lot of first base in the past too, and he's a proven switch hitter. So I would say those are the three guys off the top as we enter the fall that will get most of the reps there.
Yeah, and to add on to that, where do you see Joe Satterfield practicing aside from first base, or is it just first?
He's a guy that can play third, second, and first, and where you see him on any given day will have a lot to do with who's available for practice that day. So you may see him at second. We may think he's more of a first baseman, but based on infielder availability, he may be playing second base. And it's just a matter of who's available. But he can play third, second, and first. And then, you may see a Josiah Seitler playing first as well this fall. He continues to wow people in batting practice. And we're just hoping at some point that light goes on when he's hitting in games. He got some good at bats and had some success this summer. So he's another guy that we have not given up on at the plate. You just never know with big, strong guys. We're continuing to keep an open mind that Josiah Seitler at some point may be able to help us offensively. I think there's no doubt that he'll help us on the mound. He's a legit left-handed pitcher at this point in his career. So we're hoping offensively he can make some good strides as well too.
All right, Phil.
There we go.
Oh, Phil makes an appearance.
Yes, I didn't mean to scare
Look at
you.
all those awards in the background, man.
Those are borrowed from John Whittle. I got it from John Whittle. I was going to ask you. You mentioned the 7-inning doubleheaders. Do you see college baseball adopting any other rules changes like Major League Baseball, like the extra inning rule, and also what are your plans for and expectations with Brandon Fields?
Brandon Fields will be in the mix to be a starting player. He's going to have to earn it. I think we have some really good outfield depth, obviously, with Eister, Allen, and Myers returning as starters. That's a really good group out there. But Fields is one of the guys that's going to be fighting for playing time. He's very talented. Just a matter of how quickly can he acclimate to this level of play. And He has all the talent in the world to get it done. It's just a matter of, is he ready offensively? Is he ready defensively? Can he run the bases at this level? But he's a guy we're really excited about. And so time will tell how much he's ready to contribute right away. And the first part of that question, Major League Baseball rules. Obviously, we already have the DH, and I think that will continue. You'll see that in big league baseball moving forward. I think the DH will probably be here to stay with Major League Baseball. We already have it in college, and that'll never go away. The 7-inning doubleheaders, I think you'll see a lot of that in college baseball, if I had to guess. And the runner at second base in extra innings, my guess is that probably will not come to college baseball. I think that'll probably disappear in Major League Baseball as we get back to it next year. And my guess is for the time being, you will not see that in college baseball.
Derek.
Coach, you brought up with Joe Satterfield, where he would be in practice might have to do with who's available that day. Kind of taking that a step further, knowing what you're dealing with in all sports now and the abilities or the availability of guys. Are you having to look at things a little differently from that standpoint as far as cross training, just because you never know when you're going to, be in a position where you lose someone for whether it's, a week or whatever the case might be?
Yeah, really good question, Derek. To me, flexibility and athleticism among your position players has never been more important, because you may have the perfect lineup out there, but two guys are unavailable, and now you've got to slide guys around. And so we will cross-train guys. You can look at a guy like Braylon Wimmer is a guy that can play the infield, but we'll also train him some in the outfield because he's a 6'5" runner and he can really go get it in the outfield. You'll see guys playing multiple positions around the infield. And so, flexibility is going to be very important for a team. You never know who you're going to have on any given day until those tests come back, come springtime, and they say, okay, here's who's available. So you're going to have to understand that going in, and you're going to have to be prepared for a lot of different situations. You may not have your center fielder. You may not have your third baseman. You may not have your Friday night guy. So you're going to have contingencies for your contingencies.
All right. Any more questions for Coach? Not seeing any other hands up. Okay. There are more questions.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate you. Stay safe out there. Enjoy the game Saturday night, and hopefully we get a W.